Pope Francis is in Uganda tonight, the second stop on his trip to Africa. About 40% of Ugandans are Catholics, but only 20% of couples are legally married. The rest live in what the church delicately calls irregular situations. Pizzey has more on what that means.
The focus of this stop was religion, and the spectacle of Francis and his bishops making their way to an altar in the middle of an artificial lake rivaled the best pomp and ceremony the church can produce. The visit to Uganda's holiest shrine was also a veiled reference to the controversial issue of homosexuality in Africa. It honors a group of 19th century Christians who were burned alive for their faith and protecting young boys in a royal court from sexual abuse by the king. Whether to save time or to avoid controversy, Francis dropped a line in his prepared text that praised the martyrs for telling the king that they would not condone, quote, what the gospel does not allow, an apparent reference to homosexual acts. Uganda has some of the harshest anti-homosexuality laws in Africa. The church applied pressure to block one in 2013 that would have imposed the death penalty for certain acts. A few hours after Mass, Francis was greeted with riotous enthusiasm at what has become a signature event of his trips, a meeting with young people. Some 150,000 filled the stands and open areas at a disused airfield. The stories of Winnie Nansuba, who was born HIV positive and orphaned by the age of 7 because of AIDS, and Emmanuel Odokonyero, who was kidnapped and tortured by the fanatical Lord's Resistance Army, prompted Francis to dump his entire speech and speak movingly about the inspiration their stories provided. Uganda was the easiest leg of the Pope's 3 stops in Africa. Tomorrow, Pope Francis is scheduled to go to the Central African Republic, where an ongoing civil war between Muslims and Christians has flared up again. The stop is seen as being the most dangerous ever undertaken by a modern pope. Pizzey, CBS News, Namugongo, Uganda.